On to question number 9. Draw a production possibilities frontier for an economy that produces two goods, M and N. Label the axes on your graph. Illustrate an infeasible point. Explain why it is infeasible and what would make it feasible. 2 axes, 1 curve. So we'll call this good M, and this is good N. That's pretty good. I didn't think I could do that. And the production possibilities frontier looks a little something like this. And I'm just gonna put some points here. Call this point A. We'll call this point B. Call this point C. And we'll call this point D. Let's see what our tutor says though. The production possibilities frontier curve is a diagram that shows all the possible combinations of two commodities. In this case, our two commodities are good M and good N, that can be produced by using limited resources of the economy. In the diagram below, is there a diagram below? I don't see a diagram below. In the diagram below, XY is the production possibilities curve. At point X, entire resources of the economy have been used to produce a commodity, commodity 1, and thus the production of commodity 2 is 0. So if I were to show that on this graph, I'm assuming point X would be right over here. And at this point, yes, all the resources in the economy have been used to produce good M, and there's 0 production of good N at this point. Thus, the production of commodity 2 is 0. And just as opposite, the point Y, if you use the full resources of the economy to produce the commodity number 2, then OY can be produced. Again, it's kind of hard to interpret this without the graph. So again, if you're producing only good N, this would be the point right here. It would be right on the y-axis. If you're producing only good M, it would be right on the x-axis. Any point on the curve or below it is feasible, but the points on the curve that are using the full quantum of resources while some inputs will remain utilized below. Okay, I'm just going to ignore this because they're referring to a graph that is non-existent here. So let's see if we could do this by ourselves. Basically, any point on this graph and below it is feasible because we have all the resources to produce at any point on this graph and anything inside. Good A, the production A over here is a combination of however many goods of M and however many goods of N, but it's inside over here. This is feasible, but it's not efficient because we haven't exhausted all the resources in the economy. At this point over here, and at any point inside a production possibilities frontier, there's always room for producing more of good N or more of good M, or producing more of both. So here it's feasible because we can produce this, but it's not efficient. And now if we look at point B and point C, and this point over here and this point over here, if it's lying on the curve, that means it is feasible and it is efficient because we've used all the resources made available to us to provide some combination of the two goods. So at this point over here, we've used all the resources available to produce good M. And at this point over here, we've used all the resources given to us to produce good N. for good B and good C, we've used all the resources available to us to produce some combination of good N and good M. And same thing here. We've used all the resources available to us to produce some combination of good M and good N. So this is feasible and it is efficient. And finally, good D. This is not feasible. And this is because when we use all the resources made available to us, we can't produce anything that is above this curve. It will definitely be on this curve. So because we can't do that, production D over here is not feasible because we don't have enough resources available to us to produce this specific combination of both goods. All the resources we have, once we use them efficiently, it would only produce a point on this curve over here. Once it goes outside, then we don't have enough resources to produce this combination over here. Now, for it to become feasible, there would need to be something like an increase in labor or an increase in resources, or maybe a technological increase that allows us to be able to produce more than this line over here. And in that case, the production possibility frontier would eventually shift, and it could be something like this. And this would be due to some sort of technological change or something that just happened in the economy that gave us more resources to be able to produce more. And at this point, combination D is feasible and efficient, and everything inside is not efficient. It's feasible, but it's not efficient, and it won't be efficient because we haven't exhausted all the resources made available to us. So I can't say if this is correct or not correct because I don't see the graph they're working with. So I'll just say solution incorrect for now.